we're not going to make it. So look, here we are. Scroll down. There it is. Final tier. Let's check it. Let's see. We got 3 days left. We're at 170%. 8,530 of 10,000. 10,000 is what we need for the final unlock. Now, the final unlock was changed, and I'm sure this is news you already know. If you've already been on my channel, you've probably already known this because I talked about it. I was happy for the change. They changed the unlock tier 3 to being Keklar, leader of the Elders figure, and it would unlock King Grayskull. But let's talk about that for a minute. So there were a lot of people that were mad about this, and there were some people that were very much indifferent about it, and then there were some people that were, how do we put this, they were betrayed, okay? Well, here's the thing. To all the people that wanted Grayskull to themselves, you kind of got it. Because, see, this tier was changed, not so that they would give Grayskull to everybody, but if I remember right, they'd specifically said that you had to reach the final tier now to unlock it for everybody. It was basically a, hey, if everybody jumps on board, everybody gets it. If not, nobody gets Keklar, and you also don't get, you also wouldn't get Grayskull. Now, I know this made some people mad. And it didn't make me mad. I very much am of the collector's idea that, yeah, please, bring it on. Bring it on. Give people the stuff. I'm fine with it. There's a lot of light coming through this window. Let me see if I can't pull this curtain down. Fix our lighting the littlest bit in real time there. That helped a little bit. Anyways, look, guys, here was my thing. I was 100% perfectly fine with the idea that everybody got it. And maybe it was because of my background. I have worked for a very, 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 very long time, pretty much my entire adult life, in warehouses and production facilities. I have been a laborer for as long as I can remember in fields like logistics, and in those fields, you are often on contracts, which are usually negotiated about every 6 years. And I can tell you, from being the kind of person that has had to do these type of things, the last contract that was negotiated at the place where I am right now did not go through. It didn't go through. They were like, no, absolutely not. And we basically voted against said contract, only for them to bring the contract back, change one or two small things, and have us re-vote on it, and then yada yada. And so maybe that's the reason that when this thing comes out, and I just view that this is the way it's been for so long for me in my life, is that things are subject to change all the time, and if everybody gets something, well, then I guess that's the better of the deal, because I could get something for myself, or everybody could get something, and it's a huge benefit. And because I am very much been in the union and stuff like that my whole life, maybe that was the idea. They gave me something here that said, hey, 10,000 backers, everybody gets everything. We don't even care, just everybody gets everything as long as we hit the final tier. And I was like, let's hit that final tier. Let's go. Final tier time. And I'm just excited for people to get something, right? I am. That's where my mentality is. It's just a very different way that I look at things than I think some other people look at things. I understand the idea of being lied to. That they said, hey, you're going to get this thing. You backed it early. You took the risk. You get the thing. But really, anybody that's backing it took the risk. Anybody. Backing it a week early was still honestly no different than somebody that backed it 2 weeks, backed it 3 weeks in. It's really the same thing. You still paid the same amount of money. You still put in for the same thing. And really, I think that the early bird things, personally for me, I don't care for them in general. It's just the way that I am. I know it got a lot of people to buy, and a lot of people are saying that that's the reason it's died off now. But you know, looking at things, if King Grayskull was the thing that was selling this, if he was the important part, then we would have hit 10,000 backers the second they'd have put him back in. But that didn't happen here. We are 3 days left, 3 days out from having this thing completed. And quite frankly, I don't see it happening. At 8,530 backers, I don't see it happening. It is slowed to an absolute crawl. There are about roughly, by the time everything's said and done, if I'm going to make a mass here, I'm going to say there's a little under 9,000 people or units to be made. We're just going to call it people. I know that's not necessarily true, because you want to get the truth of it, there's less people than that. There are 9,000 backers, a little less than 9,000 backers by the time this is done in the next 3 days. And if you want to break that down, some people bought 3, some bought 2, some bought 1, some bought 4. So if you're spending that kind of money, you're still one person. That's still technically, I get that every time you put one in, you're like, I'm 3 backers. You're not. You're one backer. You're one backer that bought 3 items. That's fine. And I hope that it pays off for you. I hope that for whatever purpose you had in mind, buy one to keep in box, buy one to show, buy one to sell, whatever. I hope it works out for you. I really do. But at the same time, you were one backer. So if I'm going to break this down and I'm going to make a rough guess, let's just claim for a second, okay? Let's just claim. We're going to open up the calculator here, and we're going to make a rough estimate. We're going to go 8,600 backers, and we're going to claim that on the normal, people bought 3 of them, okay? We're just going to claim that. There's a reason we're going to do this. People bought 3 of them. Now, some people only bought 2, but some people bought 4, and I even read in one group, one dude bought 5 of them. So if I'm to break that down, and I'm just gonna base it here and say some people bought 3, some people that only bought 2, I bumped them up to 3 because some people bought 4, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna reference randomly here, because if everybody had bought 3 of them, that's 2,866 actual backers within basically 6 repeating. About 3,000 people actually bought this. About 3,000 people, roughly, were actually interested in it. And if we really stretch that out and say there were a lot more people that bought 1, only about 4,000 people were actually interested in this thing, which once again goes back to what I was saying. This is a large money item. It is a large display item. It is a large collector's item. It is a truly rare piece, and only the collectors want it. Like real hardcore, looking to collect, this is what we do, collectors. Not a casual thing, not guys that get in here and they're like, I like to buy figures every now and then, I got 1 or 2 figures. No, this is a huge item. This is going to be bought primarily by people that, well, see it back there? We're the people that are going to buy this. We are. I'll call myself out right there. Real collectors, people that have had no problem spending big money on big items for years, that buy big things, that load their shelves up with stuff, that buy the original Playmates Star Trek Enterprise because it's the original white ship, and because it has the lights that still work and the sounds that still function and a battery bay. That's what I'll call it for right now, but you get the idea. Where the batteries go, it had never been used. It was still in the box, and I said, all right, okay, you've got my money. What is it? What are you wanting? And he's like, well, this has literally never been opened. The batteries have never been used, yada, yada, this and that. The only thing that this thing had ever done was it had been opened one time. It had been opened, it had been pulled out, the batteries were removed from said unit so they wouldn't corrode, and it was put back in its box, and it had been with this guy forever. Now, this guy wanted $100 for that ship. I got him down to $80. I went home with the ship. That, for a normal person, sure, I'll rate it as a normal person. As a normal person, quote unquote, somebody that's not into this kind of stuff, that's ridiculous. They're like, $80? One ship? Like, what's it do? It makes sounds like, pooh! It does things like that. And it's like white. And it sits on the shelf. And it's over there. See it? And they're like, why? Because it was awesome. That's why. That's why. Because it meant something to me, and because I created the value of it by buying it. I justify the tag, the price that I'm willing to pay. And the less of them that exist, and the more collectors that want something like that, the harder it is to get your hands on it, the more expensive it is to obtain. And this item here, in realistic terms, in terms of one person bought the unit, okay? Not one person bought 5 or 6 of them. If you were restricted to only buy one as a person, one, probably only about 4,000 people actually invested in this thing, realistically. And then, if you go on from there, the rest of it was probably tallied out by people that actually bought 2 or 3, because that's where the extra units are coming from, and that will put units on the market for people to buy, I'm guessing, at a ridiculously overpriced value, but they'll be there. And then there's also a good chance that a couple of other people got in on this business-wise. Things like Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store probably bought like 500 units or something like that. And that's another part of where the backing came from, is they bought them and they're going to have them up for nearly 3 times its value and things like that. That's normal for this kind of stuff. And I was hoping that when they said, get to tier 3 and everybody gets everything, I was hoping that we would see a weekend where people said, well, now that everything's unlocked, I'm going in. And I was hoping that that would kind of blow it up, right? I thought for sure that offering it was going to say, we've got it. There you go. Now, all I can do is cross my fingers and say that they're going to say, we didn't quite hit the numbers, but it was still a very successful campaign. Everybody gets everything. I doubt it. But I would also say that, and I'm going to hope that Keklar is put as one of those made to orders or something like that, or a pre-order thing that's probably on Mattel Creations and you can buy him independently, because I want him. I don't know if you've noticed, but I want Bald Head Wizard Man. I want him. So cool. I loved it when they were showing him off on the live stream and they took his helmet off, they took his hat off, and he had that bald head. He's got that bald head and that wicked beard, and he's just all sorcerer and cool. And I was like, okay, yeah, I would add him to my shelf like that. I would add him to my shelf, and I would take that hat off, and that hat would probably never go back on him. That would be him. Bald-headed, badass wizard Keklar would go on my shelf, and that's what he'd be. I'd be completely into that. So if they offer that, you can bet damn well I'm going to buy that. But yeah, I don't think we're going to make it. That's basically this video. You know how I am. I just like to talk about fandom. I like to talk about what I'm talking about at whatever given time we're talking about it. And it just so happens that I wanted to kind of go into this and talk a little bit about where I seen this actually standing, and why I know that the price was what it was, and why I know that, in all honesty, if everybody was buying just one, I don't know if we'd have crossed 5,000 to begin with. And I also wanted to say a little bit as to why I honestly have 100% no problem, and it's possibly part of my personality been bled into me over time, not to be all angry that everybody got something. I hope, this is true by the way, I hope, and maybe I'm a bleeding heart, I don't know, but I hope that it's not just an unlock for if everybody reaches tier 3. Yeah, if they're not going to give us all Keklar, because we didn't reach tier 3, I still actually hope that everybody gets Grayskull. I do. I hope they don't just hold that back I hope they don't say something like, well, sorry, we didn't hit tier 3 and them's the breaks. But they could. They could, and then you're going to have to wait for the retail release of Grayskull, which I do believe will be a thing. He'll be a little bit different, but I do believe he'll be a thing. But, all in all, everything said and done, we're not going to make it. I don't see it happening. Something crazy is going to have to happen to boost these numbers. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to push this this refresh button, there's been 2 extra backers in the time that we were talking. I mean, that's something, but it's a really slow grind. It's not enough for me to think that we're gonna make it. I hope so. Like, I honestly hope so. It would be really awesome if we made it, but I don't see it happening. Either way, guys, cross your fingers, watch the numbers. I don't think it's going to happen, but the important thing is that we crossed 5,000. Celebrate what we got. We crossed 5,000, and then we went even further. We crossed the 8,000. We got Modi. We got Grayskull. We got the main playset. The playset is the thing we wanted. That is the master display. I'm going to set that thing up, and it's literally going to become my main determined shelf for all of Motu. It's going to go there, and then everything is going to go on that. Because it makes sense. It's fantastic, and I love it, and it's great. And I want it. And I've got it. Yeah. Don't think we're going to hit that 10. It's looking very, very, very no. But hey, that's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes these things don't go the distance. This kind of went the distance, but it didn't go the distance. And I'll just have to find another way to get Keklar. Hopefully, they release it in the way I was talking about. I don't know what the chances of that are, but I'm going to get out of here. I've wasted enough of your time. Later.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.